We're joined now by North Carolina head coach Hubert Davis. If you have a question for Coach Davis, raise your hand. Let's go right to the middle with Ian. We'll get to all your guys' questions. Coach is with us for 20 minutes. Student-athletes coming about 10. Go ahead, Ian.
Ian O'Connor with the New York Post. Hubert, if I could just take you back a few years to your playing days, Game 5, 94. I know you've been asked about a lot over the years, but
that's longer than a few years. That was a long time ago.
But the call aside, you had to, at the time, make two of the biggest free throws in the history of that franchise, and you did. Just what were your thoughts as you prepared to do that, particularly during the timeout? And secondly, when you succeed under pressure as a player, can that help you later under pressure as a coach?
Well, you know, I remember that series. You know, the previous year, we had won the first two games, and then Chicago won the next two, and we lost in a dramatic Game 5. And it was another crazy and epic Game 5 in '94. And I just didn't want us to be in that situation again. And when I got fouled and went to the free throw line, nothing was on my mind other than making those two free throws and putting us one game closer to the Eastern Conference Finals. And so those are great times, playing for Pat Riley and Jeff Van Gundy and playing with players like Doc Rivers and Patrick Ewing and Rolando Blackman and John Starks. It was a perfect team for me to go to, and I wish that I would have stayed a New York Knick my entire NBA career. But you talked about being in pressure situations and big-time atmospheres, you know, playing at North Carolina for 4 years, playing in the NBA for 12, playing in New York for 4 years, and those matchups with New York and with the Knicks and Chicago Bulls, it puts things into perspective so that now with me as head coach at North Carolina, I've been there before, maybe not as a coach, but in terms of the atmosphere and I've been there before. So it puts me in a position where I'm calm and I'm confident. And I really believe something that helps is my personal career playing on the biggest stage.
Just a quick reminder for media in attendance, no recording video on your mobile devices. Let's go to the middle of the room. Same area.
Will Dawson, Christian Broadcasting Network. Coach, you haven't been shy about sharing your faith. I was just wondering how your faith informs your coaching and how special and blessed you feel to be here.
Well, I mean, the foundation of who I am is my relationship with Jesus. And so whether it's coaching, whether it's my marriage, whether it's my 3 kids, decision-making, everything is filtered through my faith. And so I can't do anything without it. It's not me sharing it, it's me being me. And so that's how I roll every day. And that's just who I am.
All the way up front and all the way left, Coach. That's our next question.
Josh Grand, WSJS, Winston-Salem. First matchup to the second matchup, how much of a relief do you think it was on Leaky when you told him primarily you're just going to be focusing on AJ? And related to that, sight lines for shooters like AJ, RJ, Caleb. How important are these next few days to get adjusted to that in a building like this?
Well, first of all, I mean, Leaky, not only is he a great defender, he's a versatile defender. And so I've said a number of times, I wish that, you know, in certain situations, I wish I could have cut him in half or in 3 parts to be able to guard 3 different people. And throughout a game, he's been able to do that. I don't think there's been any relief. I think he takes the challenge to guard whomever he's assigned to, and he feels very confident from a defensive standpoint that he can defend anybody out there on the floor. A number of people have talked about depth perception and the sight lines. I'm just not there. Just give me a basketball, you know, 2 baskets, and let's shoot. And so I don't buy into it's a big arena, the depth perception, the sight lines. I don't know what the background is. Just shoot the ball. And if it goes in, it goes in. If you miss, you miss. And let's just play basketball.
Coach, we're headed over to the right side, 5 rows back. Matt.
Matt Norlander, CBS Sports. Hubert, it's April 1st, a year ago. Okay.
It's my oldest son's birthday.
There we go.
And that's not April Fool's. He
There
is.
we go.
He turned 20 today. Okay?
Excellent.
Yeah, he's flying in today.
Well, that's a wonderful gift. It was a year ago to the day when Roy's retirement was announced. I wonder if you could just take us back to what your life was like 365 days ago, and what has come for you in the past year that, on this day when you were hoping you were going to get the job, just something about the profession and holding this occupation that not Roy, no one could have prepared you for, that you've gone through over the past year?
Well, I mean, on this day, the day that, Coach Williams retired a year ago today, for me, it was a day of sadness. I didn't want him to go. I had been his assistant coach for 9 years, and I was in a really good place. I enjoyed working for him. I enjoyed being one of his assistants, and I knew how passionate he was, not only about coaching, but coaching at the University of North Carolina. So when he officially retired, that was a day of sadness for me. And so, and then through the process of trying to decide who was going to be the next head coach, it was interesting. That was the first time in my life that I interviewed for a job. You don't interview for a job when you get drafted in the NBA. ESPN picked me, so I worked there for 7 years. Coach Williams, out of the blue, said, we'd like to be one of your assistant coaches. I didn't go through an interview process there. And so that was the strangest part, was interviewing for a job, and at 51 years old, for the first time, you were doing something that you've never done before. And to think about, I've said this before, things have been great, but things have been so busy, I haven't had time to process and think. And so to say what is going on this year, I don't know. After the season, I'll be able to have time to catch my breath and be able to think about things, but the only time that I can feel like that I can really think about where I am and where we were going was at the end of the game against St. Peter's, when it looked like we were going to the Final Four, and that's why I was so emotional. It was the first time in a year that I can actually enjoy the moment, because in other situations, it was always next game, next recruit, next practice, next media. It was always something to go to. And so it's been a great year, and to think that we would be in the Final Four, it's a pretty cool deal.
Lots of next media this weekend, Coach.
Okay.
Let's go to the next question. Right side front.
Hey, Hubert. Brendan Marks from The Athletic.
Yeah.
You've mentioned throughout the year that you wanted guys to have their own testimonies, their own stories. You wanted them to experience Carolina basketball as you did when you were a player. Do you get a sense that they are finally maybe appreciating that more? And if so, are there examples of things that they've done or said? It looked like they were in amazement walking onto the court yesterday that have sort of gotten that through to you.
No, they are. They are. They're, and that's the thing, as I told you before, that brings me so much joy is, I don't have to talk about what it feels like to be at a Final Four or to come up big in a big-time situation with the Carolina uniform. They have a number of stories this year that they can draw upon, that they can grab onto for enjoyment, for peace, for confidence. And so that's great. One of the biggest things for me yesterday is watching them walk out to the floor. Before we went out to practice, I said, this is the first and only time I want you to bring your phones. And so we walked out there, and they're like, why are you telling us to bring our phones? I said, just do it. And so as they walked out, just to see the floor, just to see how big this place was, the smiles on their faces, it was like when my little kids came down for Christmas, they were just so filled with joy that they were getting a chance to be a part of this. And it was great. It was awesome. And so to see those smiles, even Caleb said, every seat is going to be filled in our game? I said, yes. And he says, are there going to be people at the open practice? I said, yes. And he came back again. He goes, all these seats are going to be filled for the game? I said, yes. I said, is that okay? Because I'm looking to play you a lot of minutes. Are you going to be all right here, okay? And he was like, yeah, coach, yeah. And I was like, okay, I just want to make sure because I need you to make some buckets, okay? But just that kid-like attitude was great. And so for me to be able to experience that, it's interesting. I wanted them to have stories and testimonies and memories. And you know what they're doing? They're giving me more, which is really, really cool.
Coach, we're going to attempt a technology flex here and go to Zoom. Brian
Okay,
Kennedy is in St. Louis. Actually, I think we got yeah, there's Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, Coach. You can't see me there, obviously.
Okay.
Brian Kennedy from News 4 in St. Louis. You were just talking about Caleb, doing a story on Caleb. I talked to his high school coach earlier. What does he bring to the table that we don't necessarily see in the stat book?
Well, his leadership has just developed throughout the entire season, and it was needed. You know, there was times at the beginning of the year that I said, you know, we just didn't have a voice in the locker room. And in order to be a good basketball team, I just really feel like you have to have that. Over the year, it just hasn't been Caleb, it's been everybody. Everybody within their personality has stepped up and become a leader, and Caleb has become one of those leaders. I mean, just in practice today, he was finishing my sentences. He knew exactly where to go and what to do, and it was almost like I had another assistant coach out there on the floor. And so not only is he having a fantastic year on the court, his leadership has really stepped forward over the last 2.5 months, and it's been a huge benefit for our team.
Coach, we're going to try this again. We're going to go to the charm city of Baltimore. Christopher Heidel is with us as well. Chris.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for taking my question. Chris Heidel from Hubert Radio in Baltimore. Coach, when did you know you had a special team this year? I know you guys had a tough beginning of the year, and I think you guys got on track in the middle of the year. When did you know you had a special team, knowing that you guys could make it?
We're good? Okay. I always felt like we had a special team as soon as we started practice in the summer. I really did. Was my hope for them to be at this place at the Final Four, having a chance to win a national championship? Yes. Did I feel like we had enough talent to do that? Yes. But I had always believed that we could have a special team. The first day of practice, I put a picture of the Superdome in their locker. And I talked about it at midcourt on our first official practice. And I told them, like, there's going to be a lot of hard work. We're going to have to prepare, and we're going to have to play really well. But this is our expectation of this team. And I wanted them to see where they were going. I told them to tell their parents, book their hotels and travel arrangements, that we would be in New Orleans in April. And the reason being is I really felt like this team had a chance to be able to do that. So I felt that way from the beginning.
We're joined now by Brady Manek and Armando Bacot. Questions for the student athletes or for Coach Davis. Let's go up front to the center.
Hey, Coach. This question is for you. JB Rich for Spectrum News 1. I asked all the players about the vibes going into what is essentially the biggest game of their lives. I want to know from you, what are you seeing from them compared to their vibes going into the regular season finale at Duke, which was also the biggest game of their lives? And when did you start to see that looseness, that feeling of not playing with pressure anymore or whatever, and just going out there and having fun for you to catapult you guys into the position that you are right now?
Well, I feel like our guys are in a perfect place because, one of the things that I think they have done a great job at is turning off or turning down the noise. And we've talked about that at great length, and turning down that noise from the phone, family, friends, and the fans, and focusing on what allows us to be at our best. And I think when you have, great kids and great players like Armando and Brady that understand that what is real for us to have success on Saturday is our preparation, is our practice, and how hard we play. And so that's something that we needed in that second matchup against Duke. And we had to block out all the noise. We had to focus on what was real for us to be at our best. And my belief is that they have found benefit in that, and they have found success on that. And because of that, what draws from them is a confidence to be in this situation and to be able to play the type of basketball that they've been playing all year, specifically the last 2.5 months.
We're going to go to the right side of the room, third row, Billy.
Billy Witz with the New York Times. Hubert, the game has changed, a lot in the last, decade or two, just with the emphasis on the three-point shot. You were a pretty good three-point shooter. How much would you like to play, whether it's in college or the NBA in today's game?
I like the NBA salaries now, but you know what? I've said, born at the wrong time. My uncle played 16 years in the NBA. He was a 7-time All-Star, and I was just a role player for 12 years in the NBA, and I made more money than him. But just playing basketball would be fun. But during this time, shooting from three wasn't really a big emphasis when I was in the NBA. I would say most teams shot less than 10 three-pointers on average. Everything was throwing the ball into the paint. And when you have a guy like Patrick Ewing, I understand why you would do that. But it would be a lot of fun to have unlimited green light access to be able to shoot the ball anytime that you want it from three-point range.
You want to follow?
Does it, any of, I guess, your, that skill that you had, does that, I don't know, are there things that you can draw from that to convey to your own guys, shooters, because they've looked so, especially in this tournament, I mean, just, confidence isn't a problem, and
no, I think the reason why our guys are such great shooters, it's for a number of reasons. I think number one is they put in the time. Like, most people aren't able to see the hard work that these kids put in before and after practice, early in the mornings, late night. Like, it's because of hard work. The second thing is and something that I love is their shot selection. I don't care how good a shooter you are. If you don't shoot good shots, it's going to be very difficult to have great percentages. Our guys are great shooters. They work hard at it, and they take good shots. And so when you put those three things together, you're going to be really consistent beyond the arc, and that's something that our guys consistently do.
Right side, about midway back. Any questions for Armando or for Brady?
Andrew Jones, Tar Heel Illustrated. It's a question for Coach, but also a second-part question for the two players. Coach, I talked to Armando about 20 minutes ago, and he said it seems like forever since the St. Peter's game was played. Are you sensing that the guys are pretty anxious to get out there, and are you doing anything different to kind of keep them even-keeled? There's an old saying that Mac Brown says, you don't want to emotionally play the game on Wednesday or Thursday when you have to play it on Saturday. And second part to the guys, are you sensing anything different from Coach this week as far as him trying to keep you guys sort of even-keeled than what you've experienced before?
In terms of the emotion, it never turns off. And so I want to play today, but there's enough emotion to play tomorrow. And I've told the guys that whether there is no difference between game day, Final Four, and a shoot-around, or pick up in the summer as opposed to a midweek practice. Like, every time that you step on the floor, it's an opportunity to get better, and it's an opportunity to compete, and it's live action. And so we don't have to turn it up, turn it down. It's on, and the light stays on all the time. And so, today's practice is live action, and tomorrow we'll be ready to go.
Brady and Armando. Brady first. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think he's done a really good job of keeping us interested, and he brings that energy. And I talked about it yesterday of how he's got these little sayings. He's always saying. He said about 4 of them right here in that statement about live action and I'll play today. He, beginning of the year we were all kind of like, oh, why does he keep saying this? But later in the year we've gotten to the point where it's been like he's been right, and this is why he's been saying it.
Yeah, I agree with Brady said. I mean, once we, as a team, our energy started to match his, especially on just a day-to-day basis, that's when I know the huge changes have been making. So he really has never changed his approach to any game, and I feel like we've changed our approach going into every game, and that's what's really helped us.
All the way back to the left, Mike.
Mike DeCourcy from Sporting News. This is for Hubert and Brady. When you've been talking a lot about the vastness of this arena relative to your players experiencing it, since we've been playing this thing in domes, I guess it's been 40 years since it was here. There's been a lot of talk about, is it conducive to shooting? You had a great day when you played in 91, 25 points. So I wanted to ask you about what you've conveyed to them about shooting in such an arena. And Brady, obviously, you've had such a great tear of making shots. And so what you felt like since you started shooting around in here.
I haven't talked to them 1 second about the sight lines or the depth perception or shooting the ball in a dome. When I was a player, I didn't think about it either. I just wanted to shoot. And it's just a non-factor to me. I'm not saying that it's not a non-factor for others, but for me, it was never, and for our players, it's not a factor. Brady's going to shoot, Armando's going to shoot. It's the same way at the Smith Center. If they shoot it the right way, it's going to go in. And if we miss it, we're going to get the offensive rebound. And if we miss the offensive rebound, we're going to get fouled and we're going to go to the free throw line. And statistically, we're the best free throw shooting team in the ACC. So we got 3 cracks at it. So I feel very confident about our shooting in the Superdome.
Brady.
Yeah, well, kind of what he said. You never shot outside in the driveway with the wind blowing and you miss it and it rolls down the street, then you haven't really shot a basketball. So I don't think it'll be too big of a problem for us, and I'm just excited to get going.
I want to thank Brady, Armando, and Coach Davis for joining us here in the main interview room. You guys are going to head out to the court and enjoy that open practice.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Our next activity in here at 1 p.m., Coach